Steelers fans, NFL free agency starts next week, and we are going to have you covered with breaking news coverage every time the Pittsburgh Steelers make a big move, every time they make a cut, every time they restructure a contract, every time they sign a free agent. We are going to have you covered with a video here on YouTube, so make sure that you are subscribed and turn on notifications. It is the best way to get your Steelers news updates this offseason. Welcome into Steelers Talk, Yinzers. My name is Jack Sperry. Today we are talking about Darius Slay, the Eagles cornerback, one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League, has been given permission to seek a trade. I'm going to be talking about if the Steelers should pursue a trade for Darius Slay in just a second. And then, of course, we got some free agency rumors. Free agency starts next week. The rumors are hot. We are going to be discussing all of them today. But first, let's talk about Darius Slay, one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. Had a fantastic season last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, and apparently he has been given permission by the Eagles to seek out a trade. This news was reported by Diana Russini from ESPN. This is what she had to say on the matter. The Philadelphia Eagles have allowed Darius Slay's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, to seek a trade per sources. The Eagles are still hopeful to find a solution where Slay remains an Eagle. So pretty much what this means, guys, is that they're in the middle of contract negotiations. There's still a possibility that Slay gets a new deal done with the Eagles and that he'll be playing in Philly next year, but there's also a chance that he could be traded. So is it a good idea for the Steelers to go get a guy like this? You take a look at what this guy did last year with the Eagles. Only 47 catches allowed all season and 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, so he is a ball hawk to some degree there. He didn't surrender 100 yards all year. This guy is fantastic in coverage, both in man-match zone and in regular zone coverage, which is what the Eagles mostly run. And then you got the PFF overall grade there of a 73.1, pretty darn good. And then his coverage grade is even better at 77.4. Now, if you take a look at the cornerback room for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they could definitely use some help. Their best cornerback last year, Cam Sutton, he's hitting free agency, might not return to the Steelers. And then you got Ahkello Witherspoon, dealt with a big hamstring injury, really affected his speed and did not play well last year. It'll be interesting to see if he can bounce back next year. And then Levi Wallace was definitely had his ups and downs last year, but it's definitely a cornerback room with a ton of questions, and Darius Slay could come in right away and be that number one cornerback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is what his contract details look like right now. So he signed in 2020 a 3-year deal, pretty big deal there. His average annual salary was about $16.5 million per year, and then his base salary for next year is $17 million. So essentially, if the Steelers traded for him, that's what they would be on the hook for, 17. His current cap hit is 26.1 for the Eagles, which is why they're trying to negotiate a contract extension to try to lower that cap hit. But it's looking like he's going to be an unrestricted free agent if a deal doesn't get done. And if the Steelers trade for this guy, they would pretty much be giving him an extension. You're not trading for a guy like Darius Slay to just have him for 1 year, giving up valuable draft capital just to have a 32-year-old cornerback for 1 season. If they trade for him, they're going to give him an extension. It's probably going to be quite a bit of money for a 32-year-old corner. So I was talking with our Eagles guy, Chase Sr. here earlier. This is what he had to say about a potential trade package. He said it's probably going to take a day 2 pick. Darius Slay is getting a bit older. He's 32 years old, but he's still producing at a very high level. So he said probably around a 3rd round pick is what it's going to take. So in order to get a guy like Darius Slay in the Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback room, would you trade a 3rd round pick? Would you make this trade for Darius Slay? Type yes or type no in the comments section. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So whenever you get an ad break, go ahead, get in the comments section, find that pinned comment, and answer today's question. Personally, guys, I wouldn't hold my breath on this one, guys. I think that the Steelers are looking to try to get a long-term deal with Cam Sutton done. I don't think that this is really the type of move that the Steelers brass likes to make. I mean, they do have new leadership in the front office this year with Omar Khan, who has shown that he's willing to be aggressive with trades. But I think at the end of the day, this is going to be something where Darius Slay and the Eagles come to an agreement. He's not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but it certainly would be a bombshell trade if this would end up happening. All right, guys, let's shift gears a little bit here to some free agent rumors. Adam Thielen, the wide receiver from the Minnesota Vikings, was cut by Minnesota today. So let's talk a little bit about if the Steelers should add this guy to their wide receiver room. So last year, he had a pretty good season, maybe not great. It definitely hasn't been as great as it has been for Thielen in the past. He had a 65.8 PFF grade. The good thing about Thielen is that he can play both outside and in the slot as kind of one of those bigger slot guys. His production dropped off really like a lot last year. Like seriously, like he's used to having over 100 receptions per season, double-digit touchdowns. This is a guy that's been one of the most productive receivers in the National Football League for a long time, and last year it just dipped significantly. Now, you could say that it was because Justin Jefferson was getting the ball more, but Adam Thielen, I think because he's getting older and he wasn't really ever the fastest guy in the world, he's starting to lose some of the juice that he did have, and he's become one of the slowest receivers in the National Football League, but he's still a pretty darn good route running technician. He does have good hands in the red zone. So coming up, I'm going to tell you my take on the Steelers potentially signing Adam Thielen. But first, I want to tell you about the special promotion we have here on the Chat Sports website. Some great Steelers gear for St. Patrick's Day. If you don't have any green Pittsburgh Steelers stuff for St. Patty's Day, you're going out to a party, you're going out to a bar, you want to rep the Pittsburgh Steelers on St. Patrick's Day, they've got some great shirts here. I'm getting this shirt right here. I think this design is sweet. And then, of course, this kind of thing, guys, having a green Lucky Charm for game days. Bringing that luck of the Irish for the Pittsburgh Steelers can never go wrong. I mean, just take a look at these socks, man. These socks are are selling like hotcakes right now. I think we got like 5 left on the website right now. People are loving those socks. So go ahead, go to chatsports.com/SteelersGreen to get your lucky charm today. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about Adam Thielen, and the big question for me on him and the Steelers is what's his price tag going to look like? He's getting older. He didn't have a great season last year. Is he going to be asking too much? Is he going to price himself out of Pittsburgh? So here's my take on Adam Thielen. For the right price, I would bring him in. But the big question, like I said, is how much is he going to be asking for? He's getting older. He didn't have a great season last year. And how does he fit with what the Steelers already have? You take a look at what the Steelers wide receiver depth chart looks like right now. If you bring in Adam Thielen, you're bringing him in to play as a mainly slot receiver. Now, he's been mostly an outside receiver throughout his career, but now he can kind of make that Larry Fitzgerald type of transition where he gets older, you get slower, you move inside to the slot. He can be a really good run blocker on the inside. Calvin Austin III is 5'9" and like 160 pounds, guys. He's not going to be affecting the line of scrimmage on early downs. Adam Thielen is that bigger body slot guy that could affect the line of scrimmage on early downs and in the run game. So this is what I'd offer Adam Thielen. I'd say if you want to come to the Steelers for 1 year, $4 million, come join the Steelers, man. Why not? But if you're going to be asking for $10 million, $11 million, $12 million, and he might get that because this is not a good wide receiver class in free agency, I'm going to pass on Adam Thielen. He is getting older, like I said. So for the right price, I'd bring Thielen in, but I just don't see this happening at the end of the day because I think he will be closer to that $10 million range, $9 million. It's like I said, it's not a good free agency class for the wide receiver position. Thielen's going to be one of those top guys that people are looking at. So I think he's going to get maybe more than what his actual value is. And I think at the end of the day, he's going to price himself out of Pittsburgh. All right, guys, go into the comment section right now and tell me, should the Pittsburgh Steelers sign a free agent wide receiver? It doesn't have to be Adam Thielen. It can be anybody. Will the Steelers sign a wide receiver in free agency? Predict it for me right now in the comment section by typing Y for yes or N for no. So lastly here, we're going to wrap things up with 3 free agent targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers that Bleacher Report put together. Now, they kind of had the spin on it, saying that these are the realistic options for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to break down just how realistic these options are. Number 1, Mac Hollins, wide receiver from the Raiders. You take a look at his PFF grade last year. He had some moments last year. He's kind of a bigger, physical, red zone threat, hands type of receiver, and he's a really great special teams player, guys. He's a great gunner in special teams coverage, and he's somebody that's going to be a good player for whoever he ends up for, and he's going to be relatively cheap. Right now, the estimated value for him, according to Pro Football Focus, is going to be 2 years, $4 million per season. All of these estimated market values that I'm going to be breaking down for these guys, by the way, comes from Pro Football Focus. And personally, I'm passing on Mac Hollins. The type of receiver that he is, he doesn't really play in the slot. He's kind of a bigger guy, just a red zone threat. You look at what the Steelers already have. They got Diontae Johnson, and they've got George Pickens. They've already got their 2 outside wide receivers figured out, so I don't really understand why Bleacher Report would want the Steelers to go out and get another one when, if they're going to add another receiver, it's probably going to be a bigger slot receiver. Next guy on their list, actually the next 2 guys on their list, is going to be inside linebackers. And Jermaine Pratt is the first guy that they mentioned, and I like Jermaine Pratt. I think he's a really good player. He graded really well according to Pro Football Focus grading last year. He's somebody that's still relatively young. He's a big body at 250 pounds, can run pretty well. He's a good athlete, but his expected market value is going to be about 3 years, $8.25 million per season. So in theory, what you could do if you're the Steelers, you could cut Myles Jack. That saves you about $8 million in cap space, and then you could use that money to sign a guy like Jermaine Pratt. Now, is Jermaine Pratt better than Myles Jack? At least last season, yes, he was. But I think the Steelers are the type of organization that if they sign somebody, they try to honor that deal. So I have a weird feeling that Myles Jack is going to be back with the Pittsburgh Steelers next season. Is that the right call? I don't know, but that's my prediction for this year. And then the second inside linebacker that they mentioned was Azeez Al-Shaair. Now, this one intrigues me because Al-Shaair, I think, is a very underrated player. I think the San Francisco 49ers defense was loaded last year, and Al-Shaair's talent was kind of shrouded by the guys like Fred Warner, like Nick Bosa. Like, this guy didn't have his chance to shine, and because of that, his expected market value is pretty darn low. It's a pretty good value there at 2 years, $4 million per season. And if you take a look at what the Steelers depth chart at the inside linebacker position is right now, it's no secret that the Steelers need help here, right? Myles Jack, big contract, did not have a good season last year, or at least not what they were expecting when they signed him last year. And then they got Robert Spillane and Devin Bush hitting free agency. Will they be back? Will they not? They need to add some pieces at inside linebacker this offseason. And Al-Shaair is a very talented player that's not going to cost you too much. So if between these 2 guys, Jermaine Pratt and Azeez Al-Shaair, I would go with Al-Shaair every day of the week. He costs less money. You could probably get rid of Myles Jack if you wanted to, and then you could have extra cap space to go get other players, maybe another wide receiver, maybe go get a corner, whatever it may be, maybe get an interior offensive lineman. Who knows? But I think that Al-Shaair is a really talented player, and wherever he's going to go, he's going to be signed at a value. The team that he signs with is going to love him. So go in the comment section right now and tell me which of these 2 inside linebackers would you rather see sign with the Steelers next week. Is it Jermaine Pratt? Type GP for that. Or Azeez Al-Shaair? If you agree with me, type AA for that one. All right, guys, that'll be it for today's show. Again, next week we are going to be going live. We're going to be putting out videos every single time the Steelers make a signing. Every time they make a move next week, it is going to be a jam-packed week of Steelers content next week. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you click that subscribe button for me right now.